Morning Liberty.
Well, what is up, all of our liberty-loving friends? This is another fantastic episode of Good Morning Liberty. My name is Nate Thurston, and across from me, the one and the only, Mr. Charles Chuck Thompson, here in Nashville, Tennessee, on Tuesday.
Hey, good morning to you.
Good morning, Charlie.
Good morning. Still Good Morning Liberty here in Nashville, Central Time.
Yeah, technically still hitting morning time right now.
Are we still Hawaii's favorite morning show?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
I just wanted to make sure.
Yeah, we start a little bit too early for them sometimes, but once they get up, they catch up.
Good.
On what's going on. We didn't do a show yesterday. Our schedules just did not align for that. I do, however, recommend that everyone goes and listens to New Guy Josh's interview with Professor Anthony Davies, who's my favorite econ guy, honestly, to listen to.
Current professor.
Yeah, has been my favorite for a long time. So it was a really great interview by Josh. That was our Sunday episode. And check out Josh's podcast, Martin's Minute. Go check that out as well, because that's how Josh gets paid for doing interviews that we can post on the show. I'm supposed to mention his podcast. He didn't yell at me or anything. I just sort of remembered that I'm supposed to do that. So
In
anyhow,
exchange
yeah,
for content.
yes. Yeah, that's pretty. I would have done that. I
Yeah.
still would actually. So
this show is brought to you by Martin's Minute.
yes, yes, it is. Absolutely. Okay, we've got because we didn't do an episode yesterday. I wanted to mention something that happened over the weekend. Happened on Sunday. There was that shooting/attack that occurred at that church up in Michigan, which is awful. I think right now it's 4 people that died in that attack. They expected a lot more, but I heard this morning that everyone was accounted for. They were expecting to find more people because the church was burned. But apparently everyone's accounted for, and the number is still setting at 4 right now. That's terrible.
That was our 4,837th mass shooting this year so far.
Yeah, I feel like we have talked about a lot of shootings lately. Don't worry, still going to bring y'all some more numbers on that, and of course, the footage coming out of that was just terrible. We're going to get into some of the response reminds me of some of the response that we've seen after another shooting that happened last week, and we already talked about it. And immediately, it was this whole Christianity is under attack thing. The president posted about that. A lot of people on the right. I mean, it's so crazy. Like 15 minutes after something happens, making an assumption about who the mass murderer is, and saying something so you can try and score some political points. And this is all important and relevant for the main conversation about this, which is that it turns out the guy ended up being an Iraq War veteran, and it was a guy who obsessively hated Mormons.
And was really tired of them knocking on his door.
Yes, was sick of that, did not want to talk about LDS anymore, thought that they were the Antichrist, actually. And I don't know how a whole group of people can be the Antichrist. I don't know the rules on the Antichrist, so I'm not sure.
Maybe the leader of the Mormon church.
Yeah, who died the day before that. Yeah, so I don't know if that sort of spurred, no one really knows at this moment.
But likely just a dude suffering from PTSD and some crazy things he probably saw overseas and is severely psychologically impaired. And that's probably the actual problem.
Which that's the thing that people really need to take from this. They're trying to take something else away from this, but just to make sure to echo what Charlie just said, he was an Iraq War veteran, I believe had substance abuse problems after he came back. And there are specific things, like you can't prevent all these things from happening, but there are specific circumstances that you can try and prevent from happening. And sending men and women overseas to fight and almost die, but to kill other people in, I'm sorry, I mean no offense, but in pointless foreign wars, where now you can come back and you can see that we gained nothing from it and the country does not support it and just a bunch of your brothers died And
by the way, way more have died from suicide afterwards, not in war.
Yeah. I don't know what the numbers are these days, but it's a lot.
At least they're going to be in shape now.
We did. Pete Hegseth is out there talking to the generals today.
At least these guys with depression and PTSD and stuff, they're going to come home in shape.
That's a plus.
And maybe I shouldn't be joking, but I can't help it.
That's just what anyone listening to the show, that's what they're used to from us. If it's your first time, we joke about everything. It's called gallows humor, and that's just the way that Charlie and I's brains both naturally work.
We even laugh about our own grandmother's death.
Yeah, like day of.
The day of, yes.
That specific day.
I'd probably lighten it, like if it was like our parents or something. I'd wait a day or two.
That would be a good test. Like both of us still have our parents, and we haven't really hit that point where we can truly decide if it is in fact funny to make a joke. That's just because we haven't done that yet. Mm-hmm. And I do believe at some point in time, there'll be a time where we're like, okay, maybe it's not proper to make these jokes. Maybe it's just we didn't have the life experience that other people, and that I'll tell you that's probably the case.
Maybe I should wait until the day after the visitation instead of the day of visitation.
Yes. Yeah, day after. That's we'll wait a little bit afterwards. By the way, in the live group, the Fed Haters Club, join gmail.com, people are talking about this Netflix show called American Primeval, I think is how you say it. Did you watch that show?
Oh yeah, it was great.
Primeval. I don't know how you say it. I just in my head I call it primeval, but primeval.
Primeval.
I don't know.
It's a mix between primitive and evil.
So it's a TV show, and I did not look up to see how historically accurate it was. I heard the Mormon Church was upset about it, but one of the big forces and bad guys in that show is Brigham Young. It doesn't look good. And so, yes, I also thought about that show after this thing happened over the weekend. And maybe
that guy had watched it and decided, these guys are bad guys. Mm-hmm. We got to take them out like we take the terrorist out.
Yep. Okay, let's. So I want to show you one of the weird controversies that happened, and I've lived a very online life the last few weeks, and I have to stop. If you follow us on X, you might be seeing that I'm not posting very much, which is terrible for us. But everything on there seems so just fake, and you just have to be extremely hyperbolic anytime you want to post something. And by the way, like if I spend too much time on X, I will become convinced that we are about to hit civil war. In fact, I watched the movie Civil War last night because I was just in that kind of a mood.
You're getting ready.
Yeah, and which is not a very good movie, by the way, but it's shot really well. I like the director. And
stuff. There's a reason we moved the studio to this bunker.
Yeah, we're down here.
Just in case.
Down here. And so anyhow, taking a little bit of time off of social media is good, but I have noticed this weird controversy happening. And that's the shooter from the church shooting, apparently, at one point in time, don't know if current, up to Sunday, was a Trump supporter. At least is photoed, allegedly, wearing a Trump 2020 shirt on Facebook.
So this is right-wing terrorist attack.
Well, see, here's the problem.
Is that what Benny Johnson went live as?
I'm not sure. No, it was probably like Christianity under attack, !
Yeah.
By probably Christian guy, and thought that Mormons were the Antichrist. And so Eric Swalwell, I believe, was the first one to post this out. He said, I'm sure J.D. Vance agrees with me that it doesn't matter that the Michigan terrorist was a MAGA supporter because in America, regardless of your politics, violence has never been the answer. And is a picture of the guy from Facebook, and he is wearing a Trump 2020 shirt. Now, there are some weird things about this shirt. I'll get to it here in a sec. Call to activism. Now, these are posts with millions of views. Posted out the same photo. Got almost 8,000 reposts on that.
This is major breaking. I didn't know that we could stipulate.
So the next level, it's like DEFCON breaking.
Okay. You should try that one. DEFCON breaking.
And so people on the right, and this includes a bunch of the major accounts, the cat turds of X world on the right, started posting out saying that this photo was what the boomers still call photoshopped. And probably like young kids are like, the heck is Photoshop? Never even heard of that before. I just put it in my phone and the AI does it, you know? But anyhow, edited. Claim that the photo was edited. And here is a version of the same photo with the guy just wearing a normal camouflage shirt. Okay. So now you can see a little bit of a controversy popping up here. And here's the one over here to the right where the guy's wearing the Trump shirt. Okay. And this was complicated by the fact that even at one point in time, ChatGPT confirmed that the photo of him in the Trump shirt was edited.
Was the fake one?
Was the fake one. And then all the community notes now saying that the one of him in the camouflage shirt plain is the one that's been edited. And so and it creates this world where you can have each political group gets to live in their reality that they prefer. And so if you want to believe it's been edited, that's fine. I went directly to the Facebook post. The Facebook post was in 2019. It was edited one time in you can click on the edit history of the photo. It was edited one time in 2019. In 2019, that was it. And the post is still up, and it's of him wearing a Trump shirt. Okay? So I went all the way to the source that the people found, and this plan would have had to been set in action like 5-6 years ago. For 6 years, it was in September of 2019. It had to be set in action 6 years ago for them to edit this to be a Trump shirt on this thing. Or I guess Facebook or Meta would have to change the code to not show an edit history or something like that. That's like a big conspiracy around this thing, whether or not this guy was a Trump supporter.
Well, and it's because we continue to devolve into this identity politics rather than it be a crazy madman, similar to what we talked about on the last show with the left-wing terrorism attack on ICE. Rather than talk about how like demented these people are and how they need psychological help, whether they're a war veteran or they're a deranged trans person or they're just a deranged mental person. Rather than talk about that, we have to like make it a team sport. And this identity politics is a dangerous game. And if we keep going down this route, you will see a Civil War like type.
Well, I think we're heading down that road. It just
that
depends.
Take place.
The reason I watched the movie,
which by the way,
night,
you don't want to be in.
No
matter how like badass you think you are. Every time I watch The Patriot, I just can't. When he says like, "Mark my words," you know, that this war will not be fought on some distant battlefield or on some foreign land, but amongst us. Our children will learn of it with their own eyes. That is true. You do not want a war in your backyard, no matter how bad you think. Like, now I think likely the conservatives would win. They have more guns and know how to use them. However, you don't want to be a part of that. War is not good. Talk to anyone who's been to war.
Be a really terrible time.
It's awful. But look at what happened last time America was in a civil war. It was bloody awful.
I watched the movie Civil War not because of this. I watched it because of the move of National Guard or troops into Portland because of the Antifa rioters. And like, yeah, Portland's got a problem. I watched it because there's this girl who's a famous photographer played by Kirsten Dunst in the movie Civil War, and she's famous for taking a photo of something in the movie is called the Antifa Massacre. And so I was like, well, if there's an Antifa massacre, it probably happened in Portland, Oregon. And so I started thinking like, wow, is the director and writer of this movie like some kind of, prophet here? Like what's going on? Or is this going to kick off with some kind of Antifa massacre? What's going on? So that's why I watched it. But Charlie's absolutely right. Like what we're doing right now and creating these realities for was he a Trump supporter? Was he not a Trump supporter? It's all an outgrowth of collectivism painting. Like anytime someone who is a member or was a member of a political group deciding to paint that entire political group as guilty of what that person did. And sometimes that is true. Like if your political group is literally out there preaching violence towards other people, then then sure.
Like BLM.
Yeah, like if you're actually out there preaching violence towards other
like if it's
people,
on your platform that you should loot and burn and destroy things, that's coming from your leaders. Yeah.
Then that person does a thing. You can trace it back to this organization or this political party that's pushing that specific thing. And but this whole, like, anytime someone does something really terrible, even when it doesn't seem to be for like a political specific reason in this case, this is like a theological, religious reason in this specific case, they still try to say, well, members of this group are crazy, violent extremists that you just can't share civilized society with, is really what people are getting to.
It's really interesting because last night, I just, as I was doing some work, I just turned on one of the newer, like the Nuremberg trial documentary. They were going through some additional history of the Weimar Republic and just some interesting things that happened as Hitler rose to power. And you see some similarities, and I'm not saying like this, like Trump, I'm just saying you see similarities on both sides of finding a group to blame and then rallying, tugging at the emotional heartstrings of one group to target another group. And those seeds start to fester and spread, and you build resentment and bitterness and hatred. And that's the problem with what's being rewarded online right now. Like when we talk about these titles and these
titles of shows,
we talk about the headlines, we talk about different posts that people are making. It's all these are like seeds of bitterness and hatred, which are going to grow into a plant of civil war, and that is what's dangerous. And I don't know a way out of that, though. I struggle with this every day because part of me is like, wow, if we want to be a successful podcast, we need to really start kind of, trying to be a little bit more edgy on our titles and draw some more people in, get them to click, and then they'll like what we have to say. And then the other part of me is like, I don't want to play that dangerous game. I especially don't want to blame any group of people when I believe in individualism. I can't.
Doesn't make much sense.
I can't do it at all. I don't care who this guy voted for. I don't care what shirts he was wearing. I don't care that he used to be a veteran. Any of that stuff.
Still a veteran. Well, when he was alive, yeah.
When he was alive. He's not alive anymore, right? I think he took himself out.
I believe the cops, I don't know.
Either way.
He's dead.
None of that matters to me. What matters to me is that an individual broke the non-aggression principle. What matters to me is that an individual decided to break laws we already have on the books, which is he took a weapon and a vehicle and he drove it into a church. Whether or not you agree with the church doesn't matter. Set the building on fire, shot a bunch of people. All of that is wrong.
Peaceful people.
At an individual level. Who cares who we voted for? Why does it matter?
It matters now because this is what we're doing. Like, we just spent a lot of time over the last 2 or 3 weeks, really painting an entire group as violent, radical extremists that you just can't share your society with. And so by using that principle, now when a member of your group does a thing, you have to find a way to make sure that he wasn't actually a member of your group, because you set, and it's not like the right just set that precedent a few weeks ago. Which
the left does it too.
Everyone does this, and it just gets worse and worse. And by the way, you said it creates hate and resentment and all that. Another big thing it does, which is a tool for these governments, is that it creates fear. And people will give up their liberties for what they think is security. And that's why there is always someone to be afraid of. Always. Whether it's another country or it's people within your country, they will always give you someone that you need to be afraid of, and they're going to try and protect you from that group. And so now it goes all the way to looking at what speech people are using. What words are they using? Is there a way that we can do a pre-crime thing and make sure that we stop these people from committing violent acts? And so they just keep using this to gain more and more power. It's not just the right; the left does it as well. But there's always a group. When the left's in power, it's the right-wing domestic terrorist extremists that you have to be worried about. And now the right's in power, and it's the left-wing domestic terrorist extremists that you need to be worried about. Or it's Iran, or it's Iraq, or it's Al Qaeda, or it's the Taliban, or whoever else it is. And you'll give up some of your principles if you think that your children will be safer if the government does this thing.
And you have to look no further than what's happening in present day UK to realize that we don't need to give up our guns. That's definitely one right we should never give up whatsoever.
And we don't need digital IDs.
We haven't even talked about what's happening over there across the pond.
Yeah, I'm making a folder. I've got a lot of stuff. I've got a lot of stuff bookmarked right now on what's going on over there, but it's devolving quickly.
And what these should be, these types of events, what they should be are tragic events, and there should be some root cause analysis. I'm not saying that we can't try to figure out if there's a certain rhetoric or political motivation behind these. I think that should be investigated. What I am saying is we can't jump to conclusions and then all of a sudden decide, well, that team bad, and I can't even talk to that team because they're just full of hate, and if I talk to them, they'll just shoot me in the face. That's what we can't be doing.
What bothers me more is that we get so obsessed with which political party is at fault in this specific situation. And if you just stop that political party, that'll stop the bad thing from happening. And then we don't even talk about any of the important things like mental health issues. How about mental health for veterans? How about not getting involved in these pointless foreign wars? It's bad enough you send someone to a war, but then they come back and they find out that it was pointless and it was a lie, and you lost friends.
Your best friend die in your hands, like in your arms.
Like that's this shooting. If that is the cause of this guy losing his mind and having some substance abuse problems when he came back home and all that, like that should be the big conversation we're all talking about right now. And given the rhetoric when Trump was running for election, and given the rhetoric from a lot of people on the left, there's something that we could all agree on so much right there, which is we just shouldn't be sending troops in to these pointless, unconstitutional foreign wars and bringing them back home with all of these issues. And we could find an agreement among a lot of people on the left and the right having that conversation. And that is not something that people click on. That's a problem. That's not what people want to hear. They want to hear how can I be afraid? How can you protect me? Who's the enemy?
I have to say, though, it's still our fault. We have to find a better way to message the message.
We'll take the responsibility that we can take.
Yeah.
Yeah, we got to do a better job.
And we'll figure it out.
Is this part one?
Nate will be president one day, but yeah.
No.
This is part one of Good Morning Liberty, a place where we talk about life, liberty, and pursuit of meaning. Come back for part two to the Fed Haters Club this afternoon, sometime after 2 p.m. Central.
Right around 2. We'll do right around 2.
We'll do right around 2.
We'll be back now. I'm going to put
But I've got to go.
I'm going to put an ending on here, and I'll put this episode out.